right, welcome back to the Balance Experience podcast.
Thank you, Jacko.
How are you, Nico?
Mate, very well. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
I just did a workout and I'm trembling.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
What was the workout?
I'm not going to, mate,
No?
I'm not going to tell the listeners how freaking weak I am and how unfit I am.
Well, I walked into the clinic this morning. I said, hey, Nico, and you just looked at me. So I was
I was going to bash you. That's why. Don't interrupt me, man.
I knew you were in the zone pretty
So
quickly.
I was training once and I was getting a front squat out of the rack at 100. So it wasn't like, it's not. It's heavy for me, okay? Shush. And as I unracked it, I was treating at that gym and I had a member / patient literally walk in front of the rack and look at me. And I was like...
As you unracked it?
I was like, this bloke wants to ask me a question. I've just unracked 100.
Interesting, yeah.
And as I went down to squat, I was like, actually, you know what? I'm fully distracted here. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to rack the bar. So I racked the bar.
What, he was just standing there waiting for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
He knew you were only going to get one rep.
He was like, yeah, he was probably just watching the fail.
Yeah.
And literally, lo and behold, 2 seconds after I've racked the bar, it comes over and he's like, Nick, I just had a question. I'm like, dude, you cannot be doing this to me.
That's your life.
Yeah, I get questions pretty much all day, every day. Hey,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Sure.
I love it. We have a special guest here today.
We do. Welcome to Ella Martyn. So Ella, we have Ella today. So Ella is a physique athlete. She's in the bodybuilding world. She's also a coach and also someone who's quite heavily involved in women's health and fitness and empowerment. So welcome, Ella.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
To me, Ella, you are someone that is a very, very highly qualified coach, but in working with your clients and getting to know you, I've gotten to know the changes that you help your clients achieve are more than just training.
Yeah,
it's not
100%.
just strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
This is like the people that you're helping them with all aspects of their life.
Yeah, totally.
And one of the reasons why I'm really excited about having you on here is because you're not your average strength and conditioning coach. You are well and beyond that.
Keep talking, Nick. Keep talking.
This is, right? Really tuning it up. I want to get some good information today.
Yeah.
I always ask my patients for advice when I'm about to crack their neck. So what do you reckon I should do with this matter?
Fill someone with confidence.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm really excited to hear a lot about the holistic approach that you take to people's health, because that's what I feel like we do here at Balance, and that's why we love working with you. So really excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I guess to kick off, Ella, maybe we start with your journey as an athlete to begin with. So when did your sort of fitness, I don't want to say journey again, but when did you start getting into fitness and training and nutrition, and where did all that begin?
Probably I would say I got into it, properly, probably about 8 years ago when I first came out to Australia. Prior to that, back home in a small island called Jersey, I was into netball. I'd go to the gym, twice a day. I would fluff around. I would do the Les Mills classes, but I wouldn't really say I did anything of great technique or, great structure. So it was only when I came out to Australia, I feel like the standard in fitness out here was just far beyond anything else, beyond anything else that was happening in the UK or Jersey at the time.
When was that?
Jersey, Channel Islands.
No, sorry. When?
When did I come out here? 2013.
I've heard that from quite a few people from the UK. Like, it's just a different culture here.
Yeah, totally.
With fitness, yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Cool.
Probably only when I got out to Australia and I came across a small boutique gym called Soul Train, and that was sort of my first...
Oxford Street?
Woolloomooloo, yeah. And that's how I kind of got into, I guess, structured strength and conditioning. Got introduced to flexible dieting through them, and I spent more time in the gym than anywhere else, and I eventually got qualified Cert 3 and 4 in personal training, and then became a coach at Soul Train.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was probably 2014 maybe.
Okay.
So you've been training your whole life, basically?
I've been on and off doing something. Like in primary school, I was really into long jump, sprints. once upon a time ago, I did do some cross-country running. Couldn't do that again now.
Wow,
No
yeah.
way. Always played netball, but I don't think I'm genetically built for sports. You know my bones. Oscar's knees. Yeah, it's not. I'm not meant to do these things anymore. Especially now I'm a bit older. Yeah. I guess I've always been into some sort of fitness.
There are people that horses for courses. Hey, it's just like some people can transition from ball sports to CrossFit to bodybuilding, but
Everyone's not made for everything.
But not everyone's made for everything. Yeah, that's for sure.
For sure.
I'm definitely.
I loved netball, but I would come off court and I'd probably be sore for about 5 days, and not in a good way. Like
really.
Feet would be sore. I had bunions on both feet. My knees would be sore. My elbows would be sore. And as much as I love the sport, it just got to the point where how much pain is enough pain? And
you've had quite a few injuries.
Many injuries.
Because we originally met. Oh,
yeah.
This would be going back.
I think maybe
something like that.
Yeah, 4 years maybe something.
It was your. Do you mind if we share?
No, go for
it.
it.
I think it was your elbow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Couldn't straighten the thing.
Randomly, just one day out of the blue, my right arm I could not fully extend it.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
Not much.
No. I was the day before I was doing. I don't know. I think I did a preacher curl in the gym. Didn't train biceps all that often, so I just thought, far out. I've just destroyed a bicep tendon or something. You know, I've just overtrained this. But after a few months of seeing an osteopath at the time, it wasn't getting any better. My coach said, "Go and see Dr. Nick," and I was like, "Oh, chiropractor." Oh,
that was Dean.
Dean.
Dean
Yeah.
at the time.
So I don't. I had this. Like everyone probably does, the stigma with regards to what a chiropractor does. So maybe that's something you guys can touch on today on how you can help us spread the good message for chiropractors.
We've spoken about this to death on the podcast. It's
we can, but I am interested in what your perception was.
Well, I had been to chiropractors before, and it was the same, process. Crack, come see me twice a week for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And Josh was exactly the same. And when he moved out of Wollongong and moved up to Sydney, he would
Josh, your partner?
Yeah, my partner. He would drive to Wollongong every fortnight to go see his chiropractor. I'm like,
right.
why are you? Why?
Yeah, you lose that.
Was this fear-based?
Idea of why? Yeah.
I think for him, it was probably a bit of fear-based. Like, I've been going to him for so long now, I don't really want to just stop going to see him. I eventually brought him on to you guys at Balance too. But his chiropractor actually rang him up, I noticed you've cancelled your appointment. Is everything all right? Shall I book you in for the next week? And he kept ringing him.
Oh my. I'd love to know how addictive chiropractic adjustments are.
Well, they're addicted to the neurophysiological
the
change.
serotonin, dopamine.
It's a dopamine hit. And in particular, it depends on your personality type. So,
like heroin.
Well, pretty much. It is. It's an opioid. And so because if you've got different personality types, and the most robustly tested and researched personality profiling is the OCEAN profile of openness, conscientiousness, extrovertedness, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And if you score quite highly in, for example, extrovertedness, you're actually quite sensitive to dopamine hits. And therefore, extroverts that are more engaging and they want to approach things more, generally if they are met with some sort of reaction, extroverts are always looking for a reaction. I always look for reactions, and that's what gets my dopamine going, and that's why I got fully addicted to being a chiropractor. And then probably became sick from it because I'm so highly extroverted, 99th percentile, that the dopamine hits. Every adjustment was a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I'm doing, I don't know how many of these I'm doing a day.
And you'd get withdrawals when you stop.
Yeah, and then as soon as I'd stop, I'd get on my phone.
Or you get someone that you can't adjust.
Yeah, and I'd be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. I need it. I need it more than they do. Anyway, what was the point I'm trying to make there?
Chiropractic, I guess the stigma.
And patients getting addicted to it.
Yeah.
For sure. So you more or less get addicted to the neurophysiological change, whether that's serotonin, oxytocin, or dopamine, and largely it's dopamine, depending on your personality trait and your biological profile as it stands.
Look, for me, as a physio, Ella, as well, and being in this world, you're just as likely to get a shit physio as you are a shit chiro.
Oh, and a shit PT and a shit online coach
anything,
as well.
Of course, It's just the minority is a bit more extreme in chiropractic world.
100%. And this is where I want to really ask, like, what your experience. Josh's experience was clearly fear-based, and he was getting hounded. That's not good. What was your experience like with the chiropractor?
Just not getting any result from it. It was, I'm coming back to see you twice a week for whatever the said issue was, but not really getting any, progress from it. So after a couple of months of still not being able to extend my elbow, and I got on stage like that. I was in comp prep at the time. I've got some videos on YouTube of me training. Oh, mate. I've got videos of me training on YouTube, and I'm like holding dumbbells, and it's like this.
It's spent. Yeah. Like, what is that? That's probably 15 degrees. That's 15-degree elbow. Not even. Yeah, not at 0 degrees
plus
extension.
15.
Yeah. So I managed. I got through.
Thank you. Plus 15. That's a physio term.
Physio,
yes, I need the objective measure. Thank you.
Get I don't even know what it's called. The
goniometer
out.
You know what? That's a Greek word.
I'm
sure that it is.
Yeah.
What's
Gonia is the Greek word for angle or corner. Yeah.
There you go.
So I bit the bullet and came out and I saw you, and just the way you handled that initial consult set the expectations, and I think just made me appreciate that it wasn't a come and see me twice a week until I fix this. It was okay. Well, this is how we're going to.
We tried heaps of shit for that.
Yeah, you were like, we're going to go through like 3 phases, I think, and if we can't get it after like the 3rd session or whatever it was, I'm going to refer you on.
That was back when I was using my 3-visit rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we went and got a MRI or a CT. I can't remember what it was now, and then you had to go get surgery.
Yeah, because there was a mass in there. There was a mass.
There's a loose body.
Yeah. I think, did I bring it in and show you, or I showed you a photo? It was like, a heap of ossified bone fragments. There was a lot.
Really?
In this.
Just from training. Just developed, yeah.
It happens in athletes for some reason. I don't know.
And I just have bony growths.
I've got one in my knee right now. So
you know what it feels like.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you had surgery?
Yeah, took that out. Can't extend it. Took a while
to rehab
normal? And physio. Back to normal. I still kind of feel like I've lost I probably can't hyperextend now, whereas I probably could a little bit, but still.
You did your rehab really well too.
Mate, I'm doing that rehab.
Yeah.
I actually want to move and be functional and not have things still hanging over me.
Yes. So you've probably had quite a few injuries then that have altered your training as well. Like you've had to work around your training. How does that affect you when you do have to muck around with your training? Because I know this is pretty common for people who are quite into their training, where they just throw the towel in when they've got an injury. Have you found that you're someone like that, or do you try and keep training?
Totally work around it. And and any time I get clients come to me who are seeing different practitioners, different chiros or physios with an injury, and they say, Nat, they told me to stop training. I'm like, you need to leave them immediately.
Yeah.
Because there's always a workaround, right? And if you just stop training, what's that going to benefit you mentally as well? You're going to be like, this is my outlet, and I can't do that now because of this fucking injury. What am I going to do?
This is like, all that tells me is that practitioner is not up to date.
Yeah, it's an easy answer. So things are always going to feel good when you're not doing anything with them, It's just when you go back to doing that thing you want to do and the pain comes back.
I like to say that even though in some cases when that patient comes to me and they're like, I have pain doing X, Y, and Z, sometimes I will ask them to continue doing that, and that will be our objective measure. Pain
of how it's going.
the patient reported
as long
measure.
as it's doing no harm.
Yeah.
As long as it's not doing it, that's right. It's case by case. But often it's like, actually, no, keep doing the aggravator, because that might actually be an indicator of improvement.
Gotcha.
Versus stop doing that and then slowly reintroduce it. It's like, but what's this person's relationship with that pain anyway?
Yeah, gotcha.
No, so there's always a workaround. Always a workaround. I got hit by a car during COVID. God, what a year 2020 was. So my shoulder.
What month was that?
Literally and metaphorically, right?
July,
right.
Yeah.
So you're right in the middle of COVID.
I was also in prep for a show that actually eventually didn't happen as well. So, whatever. But I got hit by a car. So my training was really impacted. I couldn't hold a barbell, couldn't hold a dumbbell. Obviously couldn't train upper body. So all I had to train was legs, but machine-based training. And I have to limit the load that I would lift as well, because I really couldn't grasp the handle of a leg press or a leg curl or the hamstring machine to apply really any force for that. So I had to really think about, how do I best manage this? So there's always a way around it.
Does the frustration of that now affect you as much as it used to?
Not really.
No?
Because I look at it from a point of, I still get to train. You know, a lot of people don't have that luxury.
Of course.
You know, you can have an accident, far out. That accident could have been way worse than just having
most definitely.
a shoulder issue. But yeah, a lot of people don't have the ability to do the things that they want to do. So I never look at it as a negative. You know, it's a pleasure that I actually get still to train.
And you've come back from worse.
Oh yeah.
Like you mentioned your bunions before. Like you've had them operated on.
I had them operated on when I was like early 20s, but no one gave me any rehab or physio. Like, it's only after coming to you guys, and I'm like, hold on, no one actually gave me any physio work for my feet. So I think a lot of my issues, for sure, stem from the fact my feet don't move like they should.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, you're right. We've discussed this most probably, but it's also a case of, well, is it something that we continually work on in the background? Is it something that has like, what's the feasibility of it getting, inverted commas, better? And what effort is it going to require, and is it worth it? And this is where it's kind of like, well, you function pretty well without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of your problems may stem from that, unless you get hit by a car, that is, or randomly develop an ossicle in your elbow, or whatever it might be. But yeah, what's the risk versus the benefit of rehabbing your feet? Because your bunion surgery didn't really work.
No, they've started to default back to their original position, nowhere near as extensive as what it was, and I don't get the pain that I did back then.
Okay.
Nowhere near. So it doesn't really cause me any issues. I'm not getting pain from it, so yeah.
So it was causing you pain?
Oh, especially playing netball, like, as well. Yeah, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
Not good.
My mum had them, her mother had them, so fortunately for me, it was hereditary, and I had them pretty much my whole entire life, and I had them operated on, I think, when I was about 20, maybe 21.
Okay. So you at least had mostly finished growing.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'd hate to see that surgery happening in your teens.
Was that biggest injury or biggest recovery?
It actually wasn't as bad as I anticipated. Like, I heard horror stories from bunion surgery, and because I had them both operated on at the same time, I didn't want to go through one and then come back and do the other. It actually wasn't too bad. Yeah. From what I remember.
Okay.
Unless the memory bank has just blanked it out because it was horrific and I didn't want to remember it.
For sure.
But I'd imagine there'd be some trouble walking.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
So obviously there's no doubt about your capability to endure obstacles and go through them, right? So you're obviously very resilient. You have had injuries, small and large, and you've always done the work to get to the other side.
Yeah.
What do you think drives that? Like, why are you like that?
Because what other option is there? You just hang out in this miserable state of mind and the poor me mentality. Like, where does that get you?
That's a good question for people that have that mentality, I suppose.
And I used to be that person as well when I was very, very young. You know, poor me, why me? Why is my life like this? Why can't my life be like yours? Well, it comes down to the change that you want to make, and you ultimately have to just start living the life of that person that you want to be.
If that was you, then when did you make that decision?
Probably when I decided to leave Jersey and go travelling. Travelling changed me as a person, actually, yeah.
How?
My first stop was India as a female by myself.
Holy shit.
What was that like?
Fucking terrifying.
Wow. Can we hear a little bit about this? India.
The first memory I have is when they went down the plane and started spraying the air freshener. That was the first time I'd ever seen that done on a flight before.
Why were they doing that?
Because when they opened the door,
it stinks like
shit.
Yeah.
Russell Peters
it's like
told
Bali.
Me that. Yeah.
Oh,
Same thing when you get to Bali. It's just like, ooh.
I don't know if it's the same as Bali.
No, it'd probably be different.
Oh.
I'd say this is shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Actual shit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, fun times.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Not just the BO smell.
Right, yeah.
Beyond BO.
Yeah.
BBO.
TBE.
Credit Seinfeld for that one.
How long did you travel for before you came to Australia?
So it was a 12-month round-the-world ticket. Originally, that was the plan.
Just by yourself?
Yeah, by myself. The girl that I had originally planned to come with, so I think I left in the October of 2012. She got a boyfriend in the summer. I can't leave him. You fool, what are you doing? Anyway, turns out she ended up staying with him and having a baby. So,
good.
it all worked out for her.
Yeah.
I was like, God, India was her choice. It was never on my. I was like,
you're like, why the fuck am I coming
and
here?
that's exactly what I was like. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? The destinations had already been set, so you can't change them. You can only change the how long you spend in that destination. I got into Mumbai. I spent a couple of days in the heart of Mumbai waiting for a friend to come out, and she was taking her like 2-week holiday, and we were heading out to the west coast and staying in Goa. But those 2 days in Mumbai,
Goa's a beach town.
Goa's a beach town, yeah. So it's on the coast. It's you don't want to be in the main cities. They're not really that pleasant. But yeah, terrifying. Like it was. I just spent like probably most of my time in my hotel room because I went out to get a SIM card. Walking the streets was freaking terrifying. All the Indian men were just kind of looking. I wasn't prepared for it.
Holy moly!
Yeah. And obviously it was my first time traveling by myself as well. And
There's no room for poor me there.
Nah, you just have to
get on with it.
Figure it out. Trying to go out and source some food. I literally went to the nearest place that was to my hotel. Got in there. There's a menu that's like definitely not in English, and I'm looking at these things like I don't even know how to order this food.
guessing.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'll have that and that. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
So
Terrifying.
What did you get? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
You blanked
but
that one out.
I ate very quickly and went back up to my room.
Hope for the best.
What was so you said like
Holy
you learnt
moly.
a lot about yourself traveling. What was your biggest lesson doing 12 months by yourself?
No, I met probably some of the most amazing people traveling.
Did you?
It makes you really just open up and go and have conversations with strangers. Get to know people, and then also get to know yourself as well. You realize what you are capable of and how resilient you are when you're forced into really uncomfortable situations, like going on a freaking overnight train in India, and you don't really want to sleep because you're not entirely sure where your stop is.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you've got your worldly possessions in one bag, and you don't really know what's going to happen to you on this train.
Holy
Yeah,
moly.
definitely.
The only way to if you every plant is this is a Nick metaphor, okay? Every plant has the potential to blossom. The only thing you need to do is change its environment, and so you've just changed you're the same person.
Yeah.
You change your environment. You put yourself in some crazy ass situations, obviously, and I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
And you've probably found parts of yourself, and I'm sure we're all on that journey still, which then led you back to Australia?
Well, so Australia was on my flight path. I had no intention of staying.
Okay.
So I finished off my travels, India, Southeast Asia, was due to come to Australia for a little while, New Zealand, Fiji, and then go home. Got into Australia, had no money left, spent it all in Asia. That's what every backpacker does, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, way overspends. And then you get to Australia and you're like, holy shit, I can't afford to do anything here because a hostel's like $30 or $40 a night.
That must be scary.
That's very scary when
Yeah.
you've just come from Asia where you can get $1 dorm, and so like $40. That's
$1
like
dorm.
$1 dorm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's another experience.
And
Yes.
you've got a flight back home, but it's
Wow,
not
indeed.
for a while, and it's in another country.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But I came to Australia and I loved it. I didn't really. I was just like, I don't really want to go home. Came here. It was just a different way of life. Everyone was just walking around in activewear. Fitness was a big part of it. Yeah, it was just a really big wake-up call. And then I met my partner, Josh, and the rest is history. I had a little trip to New Zealand, had a little North and South Island trip because that was still on my flight path. He came and met me in Fiji. We had our first holiday, and then I just sacked off the flight home and came back to Australia.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then it's like when you moved to Australia, how long into that did you start personal training?
It's probably about probably maybe a year and a half. I had to
half?
go off and do farm work to get my second year visa.
Right.
I've heard of this.
Another.
Yeah.
Farm work.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
nice.
what a lot of backpackers do.
You have
to
to
get
do
their
that.
to get the second lot of visa. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Fun
Doesn't
times.
sound fun.
It's
Yeah.
not
To do
fun.
some agricultural work.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make you contribute to
Really?
that part of Australia.
And when
There you
you're
go.
not used
Or
to the
you can
wildlife in
spend
Australia,
15 grand.
Yeah. When you're not used to the wildlife and you come from a very small island and the biggest spider is about that big.
Yeah.
When you see a huntsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell is this monster?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then, so with your personal training and your coaching, did it start as just training women or
Just training women face to face in
Yeah.
a small boutique gym, as
Okay.
I mentioned, Soul Train.
Soul Train? Mhm.
Yeah, and then from that, I started coaching in the gym face to face women that wanted to get on stage and compete through the Sports Model Project, which is Hattie Boydell's baby.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
she's also an inspiration.
She's a huge inspiration,
Yeah.
and a big inspiration to me. She was probably one of the first women I saw that actually had muscle and was looking really feminine with that, doing a bit of an
She does
expo in
carry
my
that, doesn't
place.
she? She has this ability to be muscular and feminine at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's also the nicest human on the
rare.
planet.
She's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
yeah, for sure. And then, so when this happened, had you started competing yet, or
No.
So you were pretty new to this whole world, I guess.
Very new to the whole
Yeah.
world. And
What got you interested in it initially?
coaching girls in the gym that were going through the experience and the process of getting on stage. I was like their main point of contact, being their head trainer, and they would obviously come into their sessions. They're excited about the process and be asking me all the questions, and I wouldn't have a clue about any of it.
Right.
Like I'm a personal trainer. I'm taking you through the sessions. They're designed by somebody else. Your whole prep process is designed by somebody else, but I'm the person that you see every day. So yeah, it sort of stemmed from me wanting to know what they're going through and be able to coach them better by experiencing it myself.
Yep. So to legitimize yourself as a coach initially. Yeah. Cool.
So do you like to be in pursuit of, this might sound weird. Sorry. So do you always look for what makes you uncomfortable and work towards that? Or does it find you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it probably finds me. I don't think I ever go out searching for it. I think it finds me.
But you don't run away. You go straight into it.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I guess the traveling aspect, going traveling, obviously it wasn't initially meant to be by yourself, but 12 months, that sounds bloody scary to me.
Yeah.
And then jumping into this world of physique competition where, you're...
And you're representing Hattie Boydell.
And you're representing Hattie Boydell, who's obviously like...
She's a world champ.
Everyone knows it, right? Like, yeah, she's the face of WBFF and all these things. So, it seems like Nico's right. Like, yeah, you do... These things either find you or you search for them, and that's your...
Yeah.
That's what drives you a little bit. I don't know if we're
I
right
hadn't
in saying
actually ever
that.
thought of it, but
So what sort of problems were you faced with? Were you asked about like some of these athletes?
The whole process, like what's peak week like? What's it like on stage? And then all the little intricacies of where do I get my bikini from? What size? Where do I get my shoes from?
Yeah.
What about the tan, the makeup, the hair?
There's so much.
What's a refeed? How do I go about this? And
Yes.
So you just dove in the deep end. You're like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
What was your first time competing? What was
first
that
time
like?
competing was with a...
Well, what made that decision?
What made me compete?
Yeah, like why did you do that?
Well, because I wanted to experience it. I wanted to see what it was like. So I competed with a federation called ICN, I think.
These federation names.
So
they're
many
confusing.
federations.
So many,
I
yeah.
don't think this even exists anymore. I think it's...
You could just
or
say
I-
3
I
letters
can't
back to
remember
back, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that federation.
Yeah.
It was a really good experience, actually. I had a lot of fun doing it. I didn't win or come second. I think I might have placed maybe 4th or 5th in the categories that I did, but it was the best I've ever looked in my entire life. And it was the most amount of work and commitment I'd ever given to, making some serious change to my physique and it actually paying off. Whereas before, prior to coming to Australia, when I'd be doing the Les Mills classes or training at the gym twice a week, not really seeing these changes, it was kind of like is this really possible? Because I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I've just seen my abs for the first time.
Wow.
That lasted about a
which
week.
is a super
Yeah.
That's a super empowering feeling to have, right? Like that's definitely something that I think a lot of people are craving, are waiting for, and they sometimes never achieve it. They're like looking at where's the right lighting, where's my ab,
Yeah.
and then you've
I'm still
achieved that
asking
for
that
the first
question.
time. After that comp, best you've ever looked.
Yeah.
Was the best you've ever felt?
At the time, yes. Yeah.
Did you have a pretty smooth process though? Like
I
the prep, do you feel like in hindsight now looking back, obviously some people do preps like completely the wrong way. Do you
Totally
feel
wrong
like
way.
you did it well the first time?
Yeah, it was a whole new process for me. It was all through flexible dieting. It wasn't like a restrictive old school bodybuilding style of dieting where you got to eat 6 meals a day and they've got to be fish,
Yeah.
asparagus, broccoli,
The
chicken,
old
whatever.
school.
Yeah, the old school methods. It was through flexible dieting. So it was actually a really nice process. I can't remember thinking, far out, this is the worst. I never want to do this again. Yeah.
Do you feel like it should be called flexible dieting, or do you think it should just be called good nutrition, or just calculate nutrition? Or I feel like flexible dieting makes it sound like you're cheating, but really you're just
totally
being
the
a
opposite.
human. Being a human in 2020 or 2021.
Maybe for people that don't understand it that well.
Yeah. What is
that
it?
could be.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I guess. Dieting, the whole word dieting has this huge negative association with it. Like, you're dieting, and therefore you've got to be like, can't go out, can't drink, can't eat certain foods. It's not like that. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think flexible dieting gives it, I think it's the right title.
Okay. Because
your nutrition is flexible. There's no strict regime to it. You don't have to eat at certain times of the day. You don't have to eat certain foods. You've got, it's flexible restraint. You've got, for a fat loss goal, you've got to be in a calorie deficit, which just means you need to eat a little bit less than your body needs, than you burn. Well, how can you achieve that? Well, you can do it on many different diet strategies, ketogenic, low carb, whatever it might be, because they're all just creating the same calorie deficit.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be something that you can sustain long term because it doesn't fit into your lifestyle. Like, you can go
I see.
paleo or whatever it might be, but you're not then able to go out and have a dinner out because, God, good luck trying to find like a no carb, just protein, fats.
Yeah. And then for most people, like, that's just going to grow resentment as well. Yeah, exactly. Like if it's the fish in a rice cake. Have you seen that video? The fish in a rice cake video. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I have.
Anyway, go search it up after.
Okay.
But
fish in a rice cake.
Like, imagine eating that every single meal.
Oh no,
you would be the most. You'd be the most boring person.
I remember eating my breakfast, my standard eggs on toast. I love toast. Bread for me is like chocolate.
Bread and butter and salt.
Ridiculous.
Bread, butter, and fresh bread, butter, and salt
on top.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Do it.
That sounds beautiful.
Life changing.
Salted fat.
Thank Dean McKillop for that one.
It's like the bread we had at our Christmas party. It was just like pita bread, oil, and salt, and it's like, how good can you get?
You can't beat it.
Yeah.
And so, I can't remember.
You're going to try restrict me of that shit for 12 weeks?
Yeah. What do you mean?
On.
And so I remember when I was doing the paleo diet, I did that for a month. That was enough.
How did that work out for you?
Well, it reverted back very quickly. Much worse.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, much worse. I got down to about 10% body fat. Pretty lean. I was probably a 73 kilo little nugget. But I was probably unhealthy because I didn't know I didn't know how to. Anyway, I was eating eggs out of a lettuce leaf.
Yeah.
So I knew at that point. Like, I was doing this. I was like, I'm committed. I remember going to karaoke with my mates, and even my mates tried to put vodka in my soda water.
Yeah.
And
how dare they?
And I was quite upset.
And that goes on to that disordered eating, right?
It was 100% disordered. Like, it was. I was revolving my life around it.
Yeah.
I was looking lean. I was pretty fit, but as soon as that 30-day thing challenge finished, I went backwards so hard that I think I stopped training and I stopped eating well for about 2 years.
Yeah, wow. That's the problem most people face, actually.
Yeah.
They can do the thing, whatever the thing is, for the period of time, get the results, and then just slingshot back to what they were before or worse because it wasn't sustainable.
And that I really want to touch on the dark side of bodybuilding. But I suppose before we do that, out of your prep, how did it change you as a coach? Like, what did that do to you? Maybe personally and as a coach.
Prep teaches you what you can achieve through commitment and discipline, and that change can happen very quickly with the right tools and with the right level of discipline. But prep and lifestyle goals are totally different, right? What you'd go through a prep is the case of having to mostly eat out of containers for a large part of your diet because you are getting on stage ultimately in a certain time frame, and you're being judged on the way you look.
Yeah,
so
far out.
There's a bit more of a
super like scary.
Yeah, so your level of commitment to your diet is going to be much higher than you on your level of commitment to your diet, because at the end of it, no one's going to be looking at you going, well, fuck, he cheated on his diet, clearly, because look, he's still got body fat on him.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotcha. In the bodybuilding, like, if we are going to this like dark side of bodybuilding, what problems do you see with women, especially in the bodybuilding world?
Oh, there's many. There's so many. There are so many. There's a lot of uneducated coaches out there that put clients, women, on really stupid diets from like bodybuilding days, using bodybuilding.com or their forums. 7 meals a day. It has to be chicken, fish, broccoli, whatever, cold meals, really bland, boring.
Cold meals?
Yeah, well, if
Why?
you're just that's just where you're out and about. You got to eat your cold barramundi and your asparagus. Didn't know where to heat it up. Who wants to eat cold fish?
God.
I've heard.
And you've got to eat it at 10 o'clock in the morning. So what are you going to do? You're out
I've
and
heard
about.
on these bodybuilding forums that they say that that fish thins the skin as well. Have you heard that one, Ella?
I have. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how much merit there is to that, but
Thins the skin. What is this garbage?
yeah.
But like, if you get on the internet and you read this shit, you'll.
Oh my God.
This is what's out there. This
And
is
you're
the information.
uneducated.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the information that's out there. And if you're paying,
Of course, you're going to go to bodybuilding.com.
but you're also paying a coach that you see as somebody that should have the expertise in this field. You're going to just follow what they say, right? That's
Super interesting.
yeah.
I was going to raise this earlier, but now that you mentioned that again, I do feel that chiros physio, this allied health field, and the coaching world, probably two of the very few industries that you can get away with giving someone not what they paid for.
Oh, 100%.
How do you mean?
Well, someone can come in with pain, they
Yeah.
can walk out with pain, and they can still pay and not complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, if I took my car
To a mechanic.
to a mechanic and I paid for a service that I did not, and I got the service, but I didn't get the result, I'm not paying. I'm going back for a refund, or for them to fix it for
Or
free.
you went to a doctor with an infection and you don't get antibiotics or whatever.
Yeah,
it might
even
be.
doctors can't
Yeah.
get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, or surgeons even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
There's
like-
coaches and
but-
physios and chiros out there that
But
are
chiros
getting
and physios
things-
get away with
Yeah.
not murder. They don't get away with murder, but they definitely get away with not providing you with a result. Same
Yeah.
as coaches.
Yeah,
So you
I agree.
reckon the first part of that is misinformation.
Totally misinformation, and then just poor coaches that don't have the drive to want to upskill. You know, they're living off 10, 15-year-old information that's
Yeah.
ultimately getting their clients, maybe sometimes getting them results, but also causing a lot of pain long term because of all the other stuff that comes off this.
So by getting on stage and going through that whole process, because you mentioned offline that actually created a bit of a spark in you. So what spark did that create?
I just really enjoyed the process. The stage itself, it's kind of not like my favorite part of it. Like, I'm not really a performer, and that's effectively what you're doing out on stage is you're performing.
Yeah.
You've got to put on a persona and strut out in your really dark tan and glitzy bikini and showcase everything that you've just worked on for the last 20, 24 weeks. I kind of look at the stage itself as like the party at the end to celebrate what you've just achieved throughout that process.
That's pretty cool.
And ultimately you're getting judged on the way you look, and it's not like a sport where you've crossed the finish line first, or you've kicked the ball to goal. Like, there's no definitive yes, you've just won that, like, because you're up against everybody else that's worked just as hard as you have for the last 20, 24 weeks. So you can't really get caught up on the end result because you have literally no control over that.
So, like, over the last, I guess, couple of years as well, competing, and especially in women, has gotten more popular.
Huge.
You'd agree with that?
Yeah.
What do you think it is about competing that women are attracted to?
I think it's what they see on social media, to be honest.
Yeah.
They'll see big social media accounts that they look a certain way. They're generally into fitness. They then make a living off that. They go on and compete with some federations, and that's now then what people are seeing on their Instagram feeds, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, wow, well, she looks like that. She competes. Maybe I need to compete. Or I've got a really shitty relationship with my body and my food. I know what's going to fix it. Competing.
Get on that.
Let's get on stage.
So they make the stage
Yeah.
the goal, not the party.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they put all that pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's interesting. Do you think in saying that, do you think there's a lot of people who make the choice to compete who maybe that's not the right decision for them? And is that something you face with your clients?
Yeah, and I think I've got a pretty good initial consultation with my clients to figure out, what their why is, and if they present with anything that's a red flag in that they show some form of disordered eating, or they want to lose weight, but when the reality is they're actually a very small human already. They could probably do with eating some food and building some muscle.
Sure.
It all just depend on how that initial consult sort of happens, and then be able to guide them accordingly. If it's a case of, well, I do want to get on stage. Cool. Well, you actually need to build some muscle, and you need to spend some time eating and not dieting. And that's going to look like this. How do you feel about that? Yeah, I'm not ready to do that. Cool. Well, I actually am not the person that can help you.
Oh, wow. That's very refreshing to
Well,
hear.
yeah, because I don't want to diet you for a show and just take your money at the expense of your health.
Of course.
Because that's ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there that will do it.
So by getting on stage, because I feel like, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you getting on stage might have been pivotal in your career.
Definitely.
Because then if once you've experienced it, not only would that probably put a spark in you to sort of be like, wow, that I really enjoyed that process, and that party at the end, but then it's obviously helped you sort of unveil some of the reasons that are driving your clients.
Yep.
So, I think it might have, I suppose, uncovered. Did it uncover some of these dark side of bodybuilding sort of things?
Yeah, for sure. And I would have experienced some of those as well. You know, the whole body dysmorphia thing. Had photo shoots done around show times, and I can distinctly remember like pulling at my lower abdominal, going, "Why is this pocket of fat still there? Like I'm not lean
when
enough."
You probably looked unreal.
I was literally about 10% body fat.
Wow.
And I'm like picking at skin.
Yeah.
And choosing photos at the time, I'm like, oh, they're rubbish. Like, I'm so fat. Like, blah, blah. On reflection, you can look back at the edits that you got with so much appreciation for actually what you did. But at that time, your mind is taking you somewhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you... Right. Okay, I think we need to, like, venture into this dark side of bodybuilding, because this is where,
it's a
like...
deep hole to go down.
We've mentioned a couple things. Social media, body dysmorphia. We've talked about goals. We've talked about how you talk to your clients and figure out like what the right path is for them. But can we maybe start, like, thankfully we've got them written up, so we might just go one at a time. What is body dysmorphia?
I guess it's when you perceive yourself to look a certain way when the reality is you look totally different to that.
Yeah, and I think that'd be pretty common in the physique competition world, especially.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, from outsiders looking in, like, we look at these people and we're like, wow, you look unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I know, like, you know, having worked with people who are in this world, like, sometimes they're not thinking that as well. And I guess it begs the question as well, like, these people, you know, should they be competing? And if you see this in your clients, how do you address it as well?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's a lot of time spent on, I guess, digging deep into themselves and getting them to understand themselves a bit better, and trying to move away from the focus of being about the way you look and to move towards, you know, maybe a performance goal in the gym, working on better habits around nutrition, maybe moving away from tracking weight on the scale weight, you know, trying to just move away from it always being about the way they look and spend some time focusing on some other areas. And most of the time that does work, but the other times it's a case of, well, you actually need to go and speak to somebody professional about this and go and see a therapist about this, because there's some underlying issues there that are preventing you from making positive change. And it's not just down to diet and exercise. There's something else that you need to speak to somebody about. It might not be
a reflection of the body itself, but more a reflection of how happy they are in themselves as well.
100%.
In other areas of life too, yeah.
And they're
100%.
looking for external things to give them gratification, like how they compare their photo to someone that they admire versus how I feel.
Yeah, and searching for happiness. I'll be happy when I've dropped 5 kilos. I'll be happy when I can see my abs.
Yeah.
You actually won't. The reality is I've been there, and your happiness is not based on the way you look.
Happiness is based on 3 things. The absence of negative thoughts, the abundance of happy thoughts, and your satisfaction with what's happening in your life.
Yeah, amazing.
They're the 3 things.
The thing I'd be interested in as well is, like, with this body dysmorphia, and when people do get to the stage, or if they do get to their goal, there's the aftermath as well. Because as you know that you can't maintain that physique long term. It's unsustainable, right?
Yeah.
So what is that like for you or for your clients after they get to that goal? Like, what's life after comp like?
Life after comp is a really hard one, and it's so different for everybody. Depending on how restrictive your diet was in the lead up to your show will really dictate how bad your reverse diet is, or if you reverse diet at all. And what you typically see with women that have gone through really restrictive processes where it's 6 meals a day, chicken, broccoli,
Huge
fish, asparagus,
blowout,
no fruit, there's a
they hate fruit in comp preps, eh?
There's a kitchen backstage in comps for the WBFF anyway, and there's some fruit platters, there's some sandwiches, and then in the evening they bring out pizzas and all the rest of it. And I've been backstage before. I know you're like, what?
Yeah.
Been backstage before. And
Can I come?
Just for that part.
That's all I want.
Girls have come backstage and are frothing over the fruit platter. I haven't had fruit in 12 weeks. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's just poor strategies from the coaches that they've sought out who are meant to be the professionals.
Crazy.
Yeah, so the post-comp rebound phase is so different for everyone. It really depends on the process that you had leading into the show. I'm very big working with my clients to have a 4-week post-comp reverse diet. So you can't just work with me for the 20-week period that I prep you for a show. And then once that show's done, you go off. No. Because that phase coming off of the show where you've been in control of your diet, you've tracked it meticulously, you've just nailed all the basics, and you've gone way above and beyond any other lifestyle client, you can't just stop those habits and stop the tracking and revert to normal life again, because that's when the danger happens, and that's when you can very easily put on a whole lot of weight, and I'm talking like 10 kilos in the space of like 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow. Is that because when you're in comp prep, your maintenance,
that's quick.
like your maintenance calorie level will drop significantly?
Yeah,
and
it just depends how hard you had to diet to get stage lean,
Yeah.
and again how long your prep process was.
So if you're going to get stage lean, right, what percentage for a female?
It's very different. And you can't. It's
body type.
Body types,
Okay,
yeah.
fair
Like,
enough.
and different categories will have different. For example, bikini category. One girl might have. I say you might. A bikini girl. One girl next to you might have her body fat percentage might just be that, or genetics, that she has abs on stage.
Yep.
In order for her to get her hamstrings and glutes to a level that's required for the leanness for that category. Whereas you, on the other hand, to bring in your hamstring and glutes, you don't have abs. So there's not really like a body fat percentage that you need to work to. It's really just about looking at the category you're competing in and what are their requirements, and then however lean you need to get in order to bring
show off your strength.
Yeah,
your
bring down your body fat levels in those areas.
What was I gonna?
So like 10% for you is going to look different for 10% for someone else.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah.
So that's right. So stage lean, right? So let's say, for example, how hard you mentioned how hard someone has to diet to get to a level where they're stage lean.
Yeah.
Is it sometimes that they should really be prepping for their second comp?
Or just maybe prepping for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Perhaps they've gone on a 12-week prep, and it means that they haven't given themselves enough time to drop the necessary body fat to.
Otherwise, like, you're going to create other issues, compensations.
Yeah.
And
Well, the harder you
especially
diet,
mentally.
the lower the calories are. The more in the danger zone, I guess, that you are. You have to spend that time coming out of that danger zone. There's going to be a lot of hormonal things that are going on with you to get into those low body fat levels. So
doing anything acutely like that is going to create side effect.
Yeah, for sure. So you need to spend the time out of a comp building your calories back up to a point where you can now, and not just immediately as well. Some people can't tolerate that psychologically more than anything else. You go to a girl that's been eating 1,200 calories, we're going to put you at baseline now, which is 1,800. What?
Right.
No way. They'll have a freak out. But the reality is you want to get them out of this danger zone and back at their maintenance calories as soon as possible. But the risks you run post-comp is that it's like, oh, show's done. Great. Let's go out. Yes, you become a yes girl. Yes, I'm going to come for dinner. Yes, I'm going to have that dessert. Yes, I'm having that extra wine.
Yeah.
Whereas you've just been a no girl for the last 20 weeks, you kind of have to pull it back a bit. Yeah, you want to have some normality to your life again, but you need to still have or exercise some flexible restraint in your choices. You can't have it all the time, because that's when you run into the danger.
This teaches people a lot about a lot.
And that's when you can do long-term metabolic damage as well. Hey, like,
yeah, for sure.
If
go from those super low calories, super low body fat to gaining 10 kilos like overnight.
Yeah.
Like,
So I did the opposite, right? So like when I was about 22 or something, put on a heap of weight. Tried to, like, I got up to 6,000 calories, I think, and I was up to about 104 kilos.
Oh my God.
And right now I sit at like 90 kilos most of the time. But now what I found is my maintenance calorie level is so high because of that long period of time I spent at really high calorie levels, which means I can't put on weight now, which is a good thing for some people. But like for me, it's like,
when you're actually trying to put on weight.
Frustrating, yeah.
You try eating 6,000 calories.
Which is just like where you do extremes with your metabolism, and I don't know, like, this isn't my area obviously, Ella, but like it seems like when you go to the extremes with your diet, it can cause like these long-term metabolic effects, which are really hard to reverse.
It just takes a long time to reverse. That's the thing. You know, it's not metabolic damage is what people would call it. It's just adaptation. You know, the longer you spend in a very restrictive calorie deficit, your body's going to adapt to that because the number one goal is bloody survival. And if you're not feeding it, then it's going to figure out ways to do the minimum with the food that you're giving it. So, and on the flip side, like the more that you can feed your body in like, I guess, a controlled manner as well, there's going to be some positive adaptation to that, in that you can actually tolerate more food and maintain, pretty solid levels of body fat and just build a heap of muscle.
Interesting.
Well, this this was mainly for like body dysmorphia. So I think we can keep talking about that, but I think there's a few more that we need to unpack.
Yeah.
Like social media.
Yeah.
Cool.
Where, like with your clients and with yourself, do you see social media being a net positive or net negative effect, I guess, on women who train or women in the world that you're in? Both,
but it really depends on what you are allowing yourself to consume in terms of the content that's out there.
Yeah.
If you're looking at scrolling through pages and it's making you feel really bad about yourself, then just don't follow them. What's the point? But there's also, I don't know when fitness became like beauty and fancy cars and expensive handbags and hair and tan and lashes and lips and boobs. That's like the picture of fitness on Instagram.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Which is mental. Which is why you don't see me doing any of that.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered with all of that either, to be fair.
So do you, like with social media then, like you're obviously on social media, do you get a lot of girls come to you being like, I want to look like you?
They secretly probably.
They probably, I guess they haven't really ever said that to me directly.
Or yeah. Or like they show you a picture of Hattie and they're like, look, this is what I want to look like. Is that something you have to face where it's like the expectation versus the reality? Because obviously Hattie and yourself and people who compete at high levels are genetically quite gifted as well. Is that something you have to face into with this social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just aligning the client's expectations with the reality. It's like, okay, well, you're showing me a picture of Hattie. She's been training solidly for like 10 years, and she was also an elite gymnast as a child. So what was your history? What's your training age? What's your background?
Yeah.
I just started training last year. Cool. Well, the reality of you actually being able to look like Hattie is not going to happen, but that doesn't mean we can't make improvements to your life, your physique, and build the things that you want to build. But will you look like Hattie in the next 12 weeks, 6 months, 12 years? No.
Yeah.
No, because it's taken her 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's Hattie, she's not you.
Just and that's the problem with social media, right? Like you're looking at these photos and videos, and it's an immediate comparison.
Yeah.
Of like where I'm at, where they're at, where I'm at, where they're at. Post my workout. My workout was this, and this. And you're comparing that to the next person who worked out harder.
Yeah.
That looks better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that now.
Yeah.
So do you see your clients and come to you with what they saw on social media in terms of what other people are doing and then question you about that?
In what respect?
Well, as in,
is that right or wrong?
I saw this, and this. Should I be doing that?
And it would always be, it depends.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It depends. What are your goals? Like, why do you think you should be doing that or need to be doing that? I get that a lot about supplements, actually. Do I need to take this insert brand fat burner? Why do you think you need that? Let's look at your diet first. Let's look at your sleep first. Let's look at, Yeah.
Yeah, it all depends. It's like us getting, my mate had, patellar tendinopathy and he did this and this and that's what helped him. It's just going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where misinformation comes back into it on social media as well.
Yeah.
The other side,
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, the other side to social media, which is like not all info out there is great. On top of obviously the aspect which involves body dysmorphia and that feeding into to people's perceptions of their own body and the comparisons and things like that. So
a lot of the people that clients, I guess, and women are following on social media, a lot of those big fitness girls and accounts, they make money out of the way they look. So there's way more time and effort spent in their diet and exercise, and putting that I guess, face forward or look forward, because that's their bread and butter. They make a lot of money out of that, right? Yeah. And if you're trying to be like that person or emulate that person, you need to realize that their 9 to 5, which isn't quite a 9 to 5, is literally the way they look, and they have to keep working at that. Your 9 to 5 is going to sit in an office, you know, and then you go home to a husband and 3 kids. So the reality of you actually even trying to have their life it's not going to work.
Yes. Absolutely.
How do you think then, with this social media issue, I guess, or the negative effects of social media, how do you think this should be like combated, or what do you think influencers or people on social media should be doing different?
I think there's no regulation, right? I think if you're a social media influencer and you're in the fitness industry, you need to really be aware of the content you're putting out and asking yourself, how is this going to make a girl feel? Is me posting this workout in my bikini going to leave the viewer with a positive or a negative experience? Even if your intentions were good, really think about how is that going to be perceived.
Yep.
And this is where what people post on social media it's meant to be an extension of your imprint, right? It's meant to be your imprint.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time people post things because they've had like a bit of inspiration from somewhere else, or they've read something that inspired them. So they post it because it inspired them. But what are they really trying to do? And this is where, if you've got 1,000 followers, 1,000, you're putting it somewhere where 1,000 people, it's now subject to their appraisal.
Yeah.
And actually, once you've posted it, the only thing that gets you validation or has some sort of is either likes or comments or replies or whatever. But beyond that, you've just had 1,000 people or whatever, however many saw it, have an interpretation of you now, and then they've compared that to themselves.
Yeah.
So actually, that's the bigger issue that I see, and that is what X person posts might be a self-obsessive thing that they're posting because they felt like they needed to post it. But then actually the impact of the ripple, the butterfly effect of that is, everyone else's interpretation of that. And that's going to have a meaning to them, which might influence their post and their post and their post.
Yeah.
Which for me is mind-blowing.
It is, because you see that a lot, especially on similar accounts. There'll be a trend. Someone will start posting something, and then next minute they're all posting similar types of content.
100%, 100%, and I see that in the allied health field of this big push towards understanding patient beliefs. Now, I believe there is a huge role of understanding patient beliefs in healthcare. It's part of understanding and having a good, well-rounded, evidence-based approach. But fuck me, it is dead set. They're drawing a very, very long bow on the fact that the beliefs has to be addressed and managed, and all the expectations need to be
at the expense of everything else.
At the expense of just they just need their back cracked. Shut up.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
Yeah, there's going to be people who take things to the extreme.
And it's like, but then having that view is also unhelpful. So this is where it's super interesting to see, and there's been a few people influencing that who I've had to unfollow because they make me question. They make me question something that I'm already doing well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it gets in your head, right? Because they're convincing. Like, same in the bodybuilding world, these people look unreal, and they have these big followings, and it gets convincing, like their methods and how they do things. And I think maybe a lot of it comes down to following the right people.
Absolutely.
Just having.
So who do you think people should follow?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a good one.
Maybe not specific people, but like should they be following people that they identify with? Should they be looking for people that they need to far reach for? Like should they have different buckets of people they need to follow? Like I might follow Haiti Boydell for inspiration. I might follow X person for someone I want to strive to be like, because striving to be like Hattie there's only one Hattie Boydell. And then should I follow people that are similar to me on my journey, perhaps?
I think that'd probably be a good place to start. And also maybe just looking for accounts that provide good quality education, I guess, and stuff that you're interested in. Yeah. And that don't leave you questioning yourself or walking away feeling really unhappy with it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so look for people who like identify with yourself, put out good information, and make you feel good about yourself. I really like that.
Unfollow everybody else. Just click that unfollow button.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and
It's quite a nice feeling, that unfollow button. It's
I've been doing it as well, actually.
It's like
yeah, me too.
it's like you turn off a shit song on the radio.
But apparently, so if there's, you can actually mute people. I don't know how to do this yet, but someone
Without unfollowing
them. So because if you
I just
like,
unfollow 'em.
you know somebody though, and if you unfollow them,
Oh,
they'll be like,
right, yeah.
why have you unfollowed me? But really, you just want to mute their content because you're like, that's fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a mute button.
Yes.
I've never looked into who unfollows me. I'm sure there's people out there.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares?
If-
They got
if-
sick of my golf posts and my
If people unfollow me now, it doesn't bother me like that. But I understand the friend's point of view, and it's kind of like, if you've got that friend that does 20 too many posts per day, you're just like, oh, do I want to listen to this now?
Yeah.
Nah.
I think what you said there, Ella, which struck a chord with me, was like social media. We spend so much time on social media, right? Like making sure we're following people that make us feel good about ourselves, right? Like not getting on social media and being like, oh shit, like I don't look like this, or I can't do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dive straight into comparison.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's prone to those thoughts anyway, and then you jump on a medium like social media, which exacerbates this, then we're just adding fuel to a fire, right?
So imagine combining body dysmorphia with social media. And you've already got yourself a concoction.
Yeah, and then you're snacking on a fish and a rice cake while you're on that.
So then we've got the concept of eating disorders versus disordered eating as another dark side of bodybuilding. Can you explain the difference?
Well, disordered eating is just, I guess, having certain ways in which you have to eat, or, carrying around the container with you when you eat out, or when you do go and eat out at a meal, you've got to have this and this without this and this. And you're just the person that has to be really awkward with the way you eat without it really fitting into your lifestyle. You're making it, it take over your life.
Right.
Whereas eating disorders are clinical issues that obviously you have to go and seek, advice from the relevant people with the knowledge in that. But bodybuilding can bring on both of those things, or at least
and we're talking about anorexia nervosa, bulimia,
pathologies.
actual things that need to be addressed.
And there might be a fine line as well between those two things.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
So if you're saying that disordered eating can blend and become and turn into, what sort of, have you ever had a client where you've experienced, well, firstly, would you be open to answering the question of, have you ever experienced that before?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever experienced thoughts that sort of lead into that type of, like, you're like, oh, that's actually a dangerous thought? No.
For myself?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. With the disordered eating? Absolutely. Absolutely.
What sort of thoughts are we talking about?
It just comes down to, like, I can't eat that. I've got to take that with me. Social outings become really tricky. And
you start saying no to social outings?
No, I'm not going out. And, like, that's not life.
Yeah. I saw you actually, you did a post about it the other day, like with I think it was your trip you went on recently, and how you like managed that and got around it, which I think is so cool for girls to read that, like to realize, especially at this time of year when we're going away or like social events and things like that.
Well, because most people start on a fitness fat loss journey, right? Because they're leading up to something, a holiday, an event, a wedding. I've got to lose some weight for this thing. And then that thing happens, and then you come back and you've just gained all the weight again. So we're constantly going through this cycle of dieting for events, and it doesn't need to be like that.
Yes.
Like, you can totally manage your body composition goals and be weight stable throughout periods of holidaying and the Christmas period and whatever it is, birthdays, weekends away. You just need to be aware of your choices and not have nutritional food as a secondary thought where you just go and eat whatever you want all the time. It's that flexible restraint just without tracking it, because tracking is just a means for you to gain the knowledge and understanding of what food is and what your individual requirements are.
Build some interest.
Is there a point where you get to know a lot of what you're eating and you can start to self-measure it without measuring?
Absolutely. And once my clients have gone through the process of tracking for a period of time, they've reached their goals, whether they've been on stage or just lifestyle goals, just happy to maintain now. I just actually want to maintain where I'm at. We go through phases of maintenance. So we start to pull away, which no one does.
Yeah.
You go in, you diet, and then you rebound, and then you have to diet again. No one sits at maintenance phases because it's not sexy.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexy about it.
You're not changing anything, yeah.
You're just staying exactly the same. But you're happy with it. You should be happy with where you're at now.
And this is where like it starts to blend in with the other. We've got quite a few of these dark side points. There's a lot. When like a lot of people set goals, they like, oh, I really want to do this. So I've been so lazy. My New Year's resolution, I'm gonna do this in 2021 or 2020, whenever. And it's like, when is a goal good and when is a goal bad? And what the hell's wrong with maintenance? What the hell's wrong with just getting your shit together?
It's actually very hard to go through a maintenance phase because we're driven by needing to do something, right? Sitting at that happy medium is like, as I said, it's not sexy. No one wants to just do the work to stay how they are, but it's totally a phase. And when you're not you've just worked so hard to lose this body fat, why not spend some time at this new body that you've just got now? And spend the time moving away from tracking. So you don't have to go to MyFitnessPal all the time and track your food. You can go out and eat a meal and not worry about, does it fit my protein, fat and carbs? You're going to make informed choices around that meal. And that's sort of the process I go through with my clients once they've reached their goal. We go through a phase of tracking and maintaining. And then we start to pull back, take the foot off the pedal. You don't need to now weigh everything. You've got some skills. Let's start eyeballing foods.
Yes.
Let's start, still track that, but eyeball, move away from the need to weigh it all. And then start to move away from tracking it all. And I actually have just sent a client off on her way. She'll finish next week, and this next 2 weeks is no tracking. And she's like, I've used MyFitnessPal for solidly 3 years, and you're telling me not to use it. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah.
You know how to do this. You just don't have the confidence to take the foot off the pedal fully and say, actually, I don't need MyFitnessPal to tell me I've eaten enough or I've not eaten enough.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Because then the other side of that is energy expenditure is so different day to day as well.
Absolutely.
Like this specific, hitting that specific macros number and calorie number is going to fluctuate anyway day to day. When you especially if you go on a holiday or something like that.
Your appetite will change daily. Your satiety levels will change daily depending on how active you've been, and you might just end up having a social dinner out that ended up being dessert and wine. So you consumed way more calories than you normally would in that day. But it's not the end of the world because your body's a smart thing. It will just regulate your appetite the coming days and you'll just find, actually, I'm not that hungry.
That's why Under Armour bought MyFitnessPal. It's just everyone's addicted to it, right? Like it's one of the most popular apps on the App Store.
Wow.
People just get...
it's a smart buy, isn't it?
Yeah, like obviously flexible dieting in itself is not as... It's not associated with disordered eating as much because you're giving people flexibility and you're giving people options. Yet I can definitely see how it would create the opposite, where people become 100%. So attached to the number that they hit at the end of the day.
That's exactly like some people. It's like I wear a Whoop band.
And I've been told.
Yes.
Yeah, loves it.
I do like to tell people about Whoop, and for me, the Whoop band changed my life.
Yeah.
A few things have over the past 6 months. I've had a bit of a life-changing sort of journey, starting with the Miracle Morning, and actually with quarantine and COVID. So that changed my life in terms of my physical health.
Yeah, great.
For a sustainable future.
Good.
And so anyway, it's not about me. Point is that the Whoop can definitely provide you with data that can hurt you.
I can see, especially in people who are pretty neurotic as well.
I think it comes back to the
super
personality.
neurotic.
Yeah.
I did MyFitnessPal for ages, and if I was like a bit off, it'd drive me nuts.
Right.
That's disordered eating as well, right? And Nick, if you get too attached to that Whoop.
Yeah, like when you start to, like, I've got a morning routine, I've got a night routine, I've got a training routine, but then when you start to become a little bit too bound to these routines, and you start to stop enjoying the things. Like, I play one less game of FIFA, which for me is heartbreaking. And it's like, well, so I can put my orange glasses on and take my ZMA and start meditating and read.
Yeah, right.
It's like, mate, no. I'm going to play this 12-year-old mofo on the other side of this, on the other side of the world, and I'm going to kick his ass.
Yeah, I can definitely see both sides for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. So then, like with your clients, right? Like I'm sure you come in, or you have people who start with you who have the smorgasbord of these issues, right? Like bad goals, body dysmorphia, poor relationship with social media, disordered eating, unrealistic expectations. Is that something you get? Like someone who has a lot of these things or all of these things at one time?
Yeah, for sure. Or I'll get clients that have none of them and they're dream clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unreal.
yeah.
So
What's the split there?
So where do you start with these people?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I guess you need to just break it down on the initial consult as to what's sort of the biggest red flag and what's the most important. And most of these things I've found can be dealt with just by better nutrition habits.
Okay.
As soon as you just start eating better, eating more food, you immediately feel better. You're sleeping better. You're less stressed. You're less ratty with people. You can function better at work. Things just start to slot into place when you start working on your nutrition better. So that's probably the first step. And then off the back of that, you start to then see physical changes too. That's motivating. You're inclined to put a little bit more effort in. And then it would be a case of identifying the next habit that we need to address and change that's going to help better that client with whatever of the dark side issues they've presented with, and just start working through the list like that. And eventually you'll get to a point where they're seeing some really positive change. They're actually generally a little bit happier with life. And that's probably the biggest thing. It's not. They don't just come to me for a fat loss goal. Well, they do. They come to me because they want to lose some body fat.
They come in with a goal.
They come with a goal to look better, feel better. But what happens is they end up just going through this full transformation, and everything in their life is just better. I've had clients that have left really shit jobs because it wasn't serving them, and it was actually making them feel worse. And they've gone and got another job that's just probably worse pay but way more gratifying. And
once you start cleaning things up a little bit, it's amazing what symptoms show up, and you start to refine, hone in on what's causing most of your angst.
Absolutely.
Improving their relationship with themselves.
I've had that. I've had heaps of clients. Something I'm actually working on is people that are in the corporate world that are burnt out, and they come in with this ongoing pain. Ongoing pain. They can't recover. They're in pain all the time. They've got a gamut of other health issues they're not looking at, and in some cases probably not telling me about. And I've worked with people for years, and eventually they actually resign. Yeah. They resign, and then they take 12 months off. Yeah. 12 months. Can you imagine being in your 40s, late 30s and 40s, you're in a high-paying job, and then you just stop working for 12 months? That's how burnt out they are. Why am I talking about this?
I don't know, but that baffles me, that people do that they kill themselves for a job.
In fitness, it's people who diet.
When you just clean things up a little bit.
People who've been killing themselves for too long, and then you clean things up, and all of a sudden you lease on life, right? I'm sure there's people who've done the old school sort of bodybuilding thing where they're doing the clean eating and all that stuff, and then you can only maintain it for so long before you go absolutely nuts, right? And then develop a shit relationship with food and training, and then you just blow out, right?
Or you don't train at all. You're like, fuck this, don't want to do it anymore. There's no pleasure in it.
100%.
So how let's say for example you've got a client that's come in with a bad goal, right? That you appreciate as a bad goal, that maybe you can't tell them because they are fixated on it. And how long would you lead someone down a path of that bad goal? And then, because there's for sure, I've heard a couple of things so far in our discussion of there's times where you need to coach them and make them come to the realization that they're on the wrong path, or they need to change their expectations or something like that, and that would be a coach's role. Yeah. And in some other cases, you've got the mentor role where you've been through what they're trying to go through, and you can advise them along the way. Yeah. But then there are times where you need to tell them to do something, like you are now not tracking. I am prescribing. It's a prescription. I am telling you to do this. Do it. So that process of it's a bad goal. Do you tell them that's a bad goal, or do you go through a timely process of them starting to realize that was actually not a good idea in the first place?
Well, what's a bad goal? Like somebody that wants to drop 20 kilos in 10, 12 weeks, that type of stuff, or wants to start powerlifting in the next 3 months.
Maybe some goals, right?
Maybe goals that have more risk than reward.
Yeah. I guess just being honest and upfront with them actually about that in the initial consult. Well, if this is what you want to achieve, this is the process in which you need to follow to get there in this time frame.
So ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, and this is what the effort, or this is the risk for the reward. Is this still what you want to do? Because a lot of the time, those clients have this thought of, I want to do that. but they don't have the understanding of or the background knowledge to. They just see the end thing. They don't see the process. So is that process something that you can actually go through? Same with competing. I've had clients come to me that want to compete, but they work like 6 days a week till like 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
The reality is, mate, there's no way you can dedicate the time and effort to get on stage. It's a very selfish sport, and you actually need to start saying no to things.
I've definitely gone through that process of realization where if you're working anything longer than 10 hours, fuck that. Anything longer than 8 hours, you are going to get away with 30 minutes monostructural work. Get on the rower for 30 minutes, do some basic non-skill based work and get your heart rate up. Yeah. That's it, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine if you and I, it's not happening, but like if you and I made the decision to compete, like, what are we going to do? Like, try and find
2 to 3 hours a day? 2 hours a day?
Where are we going to find that time? And then, like, also, like, obviously flexible dieting allows for this a lot, but like, just being able to fit that into our lifestyle and our
preparing
work.
your food.
Yep.
Our days fluctuate a lot.
Buying your bikini and stuff, Jack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
One that fits you.
It's trunks,
Ooh,
guys. We'll get you some
That's a
little
bad
trunks,
image.
sparkly trunks.
Little sparkly trunks, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's that gives some insight at least into how you deal with, I guess, your clients who maybe come with a few of these issues and
then it's what, like triage. You just basically just got to figure out what the biggest issue is that they've got to clean up.
Yeah, or what could you get the biggest payoff with? You know, what's going to be the immediate? What are they going to be able to see some progress with immediately, and maybe start with that?
Because if you get their diet changed, there are how that gets absorbed and the different parts of the gut. That is your second brain, and you clean that up a little bit. And we said, like, people don't change unless their environment change or their situation change.
Yeah.
like a flower.
Like a flower in sun or shade, depending. And so if you change, I suppose, well, to use the floral sense, change the flora of the gut, or you just change the way the gut works, or you just change how many nutrients they actually have, that will have to have a direct correlation to how you think. Because it's just hormones and chemistry.
Yeah.
Your appetite and your satiety managed by the hormones ghrelin and leptin. It's like that's hormonally driven. It's from the hypothalamus. What drives the hypothalamus? It's like, well, you can keep going layer and layer and layer deeper until you get to the point where it's like, it depends on what you eat, mate.
Yeah, that sounds like the overarching thing. And then it sounds like the maybe the lost causes are the ones that need referral.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I like that. Good stuff.
Well, holy moly, we have been through a lot.
We covered a bit.
Did well.
I think we did well.
Very well.
Is there anything what are sort of a couple of little nuggets you want to impart to? Are you taking clients?
Not for the rest of this year. I will be opening up consult goals for 2021.
Okay.
I don't take on a heap of clients. I'm just me, myself, and I, and my partner Josh. He's also a coach. He works with the guys that we onboard. But yeah, I cap my numbers because I want to deliver a service to my clients that's not then watered down because I'm just at capacity.
And that service is like it's encompassing everything we've talked about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess for everyone who's listening, where can people reach you and where can they follow you? And
main places to reach me would probably start with Instagram. You can just find me at Ella Martyn. That's with a Y, Martyn. From there, there's a URL that will feed you to my website, ellamartyn.com.
Your posts are always educational too.
Oh, thank you.
Like
I try.
some inspiration.
I try sometimes.
Yeah,
definitely. But you're definitely like some of the posts, a lot of the posts are you're trying to deliver a message, and it's not just inspo.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Gymshark model.
Yeah,
styles.
which you're not going to be the one to say this, Ella, but like as we were talking about before, like if you're looking for people to follow,
you're a good one.
That are positive. Yeah, like
Thank you.
definitely you're one of them.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I try.
So what are a couple of little nuggets that you want to impart to people listening that are thinking about, that have a goal and they're stuck?
Seek the advice from a professional coach, but do your due diligence on that coach. Don't just assume because they've got a body and they look good on Instagram that they actually have the credentials to back it up. So definitely seek a coach to help you achieve your goals because you're only going to benefit from that as long as you go to the right one.
What does doing your due diligence look like?
I mean, just check their websites, check to see if they actually have any qualifications. Are they providing nutrition advice? Do they actually have a qualification in that? Where did they study? Or are they just a personal trainer that's done a comp and now is providing you with a meal plan?
In other words, you can't be satisfied with just how the website looks and whether they look
And
like
they're
they know what they're talking about.
And actually, if you have a consult with a coach, you can ask them these questions. And I love coming off a consult with somebody that actually sits down and asks me, hey, what are your qualifications? What have you done?
Yeah, see, some people look at that as being questioned.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, well, it is being questioned, and rightly so. You should question because you're going to embark.
Maybe people who don't have an answer to that question.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
Because they don't have the credentials.
It
Most are
exposes
3 and
them.
4.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, you're going to spend a lot of money on coaching and for a service, so you're going to want to make sure that you're going to the right person for that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Second, someone that has a goal but stuck.
Start with your why. What is your why behind your goal? Is it from a place of self-love, or is it from a place of negativity and loathing and not being happy with where you are? Because that change needs to come from a place of love and respect, because otherwise you'll achieve that goal and you still won't be happy.
Yes.
Sure.
So if your driving force is because I don't like the way I look when I stand in front of the mirror, you have to go a bit deeper than that. Well,
Yes.
why? What's the driving force behind that?
I can attest to that personally, and partly that quarantine that I mentioned earlier, where that actually being in quarantine changed my life, where I was reading a book that my coach, Andrew Manishian, passed on to me called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I read that book, plus I was confined to my Dulwich Hill unit. And literally there was a chapter in there of why and understanding why. And so I took myself through an exercise of unpacking that. And as soon as, because I don't really give a shit about aesthetic. I don't have self-loathing, probably also to my detriment. And it's like a lot of these performance / aesthetic goals, I could not give a shit.
Yeah.
However, as soon as I realized what my driving force was, and that is, it's either I'm trying to educate people or I'm trying to inspire people.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And by not training and not improving your physical health, are you achieving that? And that is when I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, you piece of shit. Get off your ass.
Yeah.
And I haven't stopped training since.
Excellent.
It's awesome.
So finding your why is a huge one. They're both beautiful,
Yep.
beautiful points.
Love it.
Been
That's
a
awesome,
pleasure,
Ella.
mate.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ella.
Thanks so much for your
Thanks,
time.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem.